I can't believe it. I ran into Hollywood actors. Now, I've got 14 YouTube channels across the country, shot thousands of real estate videos, but in my quest to always get better, and most importantly, increase my average view durations, my watch time, and yes, get leads, I was shocked to hear what they do in Hollywood in order to do this and how they actually translate that into real estate videos. Let's listen real quick.
If you are doing a value video, for example, you know, this is how I need to hook in that audience, the right audience, so they're excited to watch my movie. Here's how I keep them engaged throughout the video. You're talking about watch time, Jackson, the things that increase that watch time. What do you need to do in the meat of that video to keep them engaged? And then very importantly, what do you need to do in that call to action by the end of the video to actually get them, you know, taking action, reaching out to you, sending it to their friend who this is more relevant for.
Now, this is going to be an action-packed interview, but I wanted to make sure that we made this relevant for real estate agents. And I know in coaching thousands of realtors, the biggest struggles out there, period, is camera confidence and telling better stories. So with this being said, before we hopped on the interview, I made them give us 3 of their strategies to gain camera confidence and 3 of the best strategies known to man to tell better stories on video. Of course, they give a lot of examples of the movies they've been in, but I was shocked at how similar Hollywood videos are to our YouTube videos, but also the biggest mistakes that real estate agents make. They're gonna walk you through basically their preparation of how you can line out a video, and then when it comes into storytelling, this is the best part because they go into detail on how to hook an audience.
And I wasn't even at the club on Thursday. I was on my buddy Trevor's new boat all night. You can ask him. We were trying to come up with a name for it. We should call it the Alibi.
The LGBTQIA union would love to, but we have a screen of Bowling for Columbine that night.
This is gonna be a video you are not gonna wanna turn off. And the best part is, homies, they share their insights on how you can basically start day one and never shoot a bad video. I can't wait to learn more from them. But before you do that, if you love my videos and teaching you how to grow real estate YouTube channels, and more importantly, how to get more leads, make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe so that you never miss any of these videos. Now, let's get into the interview. All right, so I'm excited to have you guys today because you guys are going to cover basically the 2 biggest struggles that I have teaching thousands of real estate agents how to get better on video. And that comes down to 1, which is camera confidence. Everybody asks me about camera confidence. And number 2, storytelling. They're always like, Jackson, how do you get these stories across? So I couldn't be more excited to hear, especially behind the scenes, you know, pulling the curtain back on what they do in Hollywood. And with that, let's get right into it. The first section, the top 3, Abby, if you want to go through it, we'll really dive deep into camera confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having us. So the biggest thing that we see with realtors and anyone who needs to be the face of their business and is struggling with getting on camera, it really comes down to one of 3 things not being dialed in, or a little bit of all 3 of these things. And it's what David and I call the Hollywood method. So we're going to be breaking down preparation, roadmap, and presence. And when all 3 of those things are dialed in, that's really that sweet spot that we see of people being able to be their confident, dynamic, engaging selves on camera, being able to actually create the types of videos that get people to take action, to want to work with them. That sweet spot of like, oh, I'm actually making money from my videos, I'm getting clients from my videos, and all of that. So it really comes down to those 3 things. So David, you want to kick us off with preparation?
Let's do it. Number 1, preparation. So like Abby was saying, like, and Jackson, what we hear all the time is it takes me 2 hours, 20 takes, a mini meltdown, just to create this simple 2-minute video. I actually think 2 hours is being generous. A lot of the times we hear like an entire weekend to make it a 2-minute video.
Or to a point to where they don't even shoot a video.
Yeah, it's 100%. They give up and they're just like, I'm not doing this anymore because they break out in hives at the thought of it, right? So I'm going to make this real easy for you guys right off the bat. If you are scripting using a teleprompter or winging it, you're doing it wrong. And you're actually setting yourself up for that frustration and for that failure that you've been having unknowingly. And Abby and I will help with that right now. So like Jackson said, we're going to pull back that Hollywood curtain since Abby and I are actors and writers and producers in Hollywood. So actors go to school or take classes for years to learn how to memorize scripts properly so that, you know, when the director says action, we remember and don't need a million takes. And we learn how to recite the script properly. So even though we're memorized with it and we've been putting a lot of work into it, it still sounds like, oh, this is the first time I've ever thought of these words. It sounds so natural and conversational. And a lot goes into that. And I mean a lot, like hours of work. I wasn't exaggerating when I said years of classes just for that, right? And even with all, and I'm not going to go into it because that would take forever.
Yeah.
Even with all of that work we have to put into it, they still say out of everyone trying to make it in Hollywood, all the actors trying to make it, only around 2% book work, right? And that doesn't mean like that 2% is just Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington and Brad Pitt. They just mean like book and work. Like you're a waiter in the movie where you have one line and you walk on and you're like, your bologna sandwich, sir. And then you walk off and you're never seen again. Only 2%. That's not a lot. How come? Now, there's obviously multiple reasons, but the big one is because even with all that training, it's still so hard to do, to be natural conversational, not sound memorized, not forget the lines. It's still so hard to do. Most people can't do it well enough. So now that we know that, why do we think, or I should say you guys think, I have no training in scripting. I know I'll script my whole video out and I'll be great. Now we know that, we go, oh man, no wonder why I've been having all this frustration. I actually think it's relief, because that means it's not your fault. It's not like you just stink on camera. You're the person who can't be great on camera. You've just been accidentally setting yourself up for that frustration. And it's the same with teleprompters. Casting directors won't even let an actor into the room to audition for something that uses a teleprompter, which is usually like a hosting gig, like Dances with the Stars and things like that, right? They won't even let you into the room to audition unless you have the years of training with teleprompters. Like they'll literally say in the breakdown, must be expert in teleprompter, must have training in teleprompter, because they know if you don't have it and you come into the room, you're just wasting your time and you're wasting their time. You're going to look like you're reading. You're going to sound like this. Hi, my name is David. Welcome.
Right.
Which
Right?
I totally did. Like when I was first starting out in acting, I was like, oh, how hard can it be? And I like showed up to an audition not having teleprompter experience at that time. I was like, I don't know, 18, 19 years old. And oh man, I just like tanked it in the room in front of the casting directors, and they were upset because I did exactly what David said, but I was trained and I could memorize. And luckily I had like memorized enough of the script in the room in the 5 minutes before I went in to be able to kind of like make my way through it. But that was like a real humbling experience of exactly what David's saying, of like, why are you setting yourself up for that?
Yeah.
Right. So again, that goes into the earlier point. Now that we know that, and we go, oh, I'll just use a teleprompter. We get it, because now it's like, I don't have to memorize anything. But no wonder why you're looking like you're reading, or you're not sounding like your natural self, or people aren't resonating with it, because you don't have that training. So again, we've been unknowingly and accidentally setting ourselves up for that frustration, right? Abby, do you want to talk about
what to do instead? Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that's important for all of you to remember is, like, with the things that David's talking about, you're also saying, oh, if somebody asks me if I have to do a video about something I'm an expert in, real estate, that you think you have to have a script to be able to do that. And it's so important to remember what an expert you are in what you're doing and what you're talking about in your videos, because if you weren't an expert, you wouldn't be making videos about it. Nobody's going to watch you talk about stuff you don't know anything about. So remember that you are an expert. And David and I always like to say, like, your videos need to pass what we call the dinner party test. So if you were at a dinner party and somebody asked you a question about real estate, I said, oh, hey, Jackson, I'm looking to buy my first home. Like, what do you think where do I start? What do I do? I've never done this before. You would never say, hey, Abby, that's a great question. Let me go take a couple hours to write this script, load it in a teleprompter, memorize it, or whatever that is, and I'll come back to you later. Like, no, you would sound insane. You would be able to say, Oh, Abby, great question. The first thing that you need to do is this, XYZ. The second thing you need to do is this. And the third thing is make sure you don't make this mistake and you do this. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out to me and we can hop on a call and talk about it more. You would be able to do that very easily. And then if you are at another dinner party, say the next night, and David asked you the same question, you would be able to, once again, answer that stuff. Great question, David. First thing, second thing, third thing. You wouldn't be like, oh my God, I didn't say it the exact same way I said it to Abby yesterday. I said it in slightly different wording. No, you'd be focused on, did I get my point across? Did David understand what he needed? Did I hit those same main points of what's crucial? And it's the same thing with videos. When you have the right preparation process, you're capturing all that expertise that you have and you're doing it in an organized way. You're knocking out those 3 things that you would be, sharing with us in person. You would be doing that in a video. You wouldn't be so married to, I've got to say it in this exact way. You'd be more focused on the other person. And in this case, on the camera, on, is this coming across? Are they understanding it? Is it valuable? Am I not rambling all over the place trying to get them to understand, this simple thing? Am I making it too complicated? Those are the things you'd be focusing on real life. And when you have the right preparation process, you're capturing all of that to come across on camera.
Yeah. And then Abby and I always have to say too, and this is going to really prevent you from wasting hours. That if you're preparing the right way, that won't happen anyways. But always remember this rule. We call it the 3-take rule. Do not do more than 3 takes when you're making a video, because what happens after 3 takes, right? After 3 takes, your frustration goes up, the confidence goes down, and you end up with that mediocre video you don't even really want to post. Right?
Yep.
So 3 takes or less. You might be thinking, I do more in order to like cobble it all together. If you're needing to do that, you didn't prepare right, and you're setting yourself up for failure. Clint Eastwood is like known for his directing, obviously, and his cowboy days, but he's the guy that's just like, he basically just wants you to do like 1 take, 2 takes max, like, just in case something happened, technical side. And then he's like, moving on. And the actors all the time will be like, oh, Mr. Eastwood, maybe we get like a couple more takes. I really feel like, and he's like, no, it was great. Move on, because that's natural. That's real. He doesn't want it turning into this, this really scripted, tight thing. Yeah. So take it from Oscar-winning Hollywood actors, directors. They don't even want tons of takes.
Right. So I want to interject here too a little bit. We're going to get also here at the end of the video about the storytelling, which is going to be the most powerful part. But like in a quicker answer, the preparation, let's say I'm an agent and I'm like, man, I could turn the camera. I'm just struggling. I guess quickly, what is that preparation? Do I bullet point? Do I script and teleprompt? I'm a big proponent of like a no teleprompter. And when I do it, it's not that I read flat. I just hate it. Like I don't get to do my like thing, but I've had agents do teleprompter stuff and sell 50 homes. So like, what's like the simplest preparation you could just tell somebody right now?
Absolutely. So if we go back to what we were talking about with the dinner party test, think about those as your bullets. If you were answering that question in real life and you were like, here are the 2 things or the 3 things, I basically just did a video structure. Do you need help with XYZ? Here's the 3 things you need for that. And if you need more help with it, feel free to reach out to me. That's a call to action. So some sort of bullets, and then always remember to speak it out loud before you hit record. So that's one of the biggest things, is like, we write differently than we speak. What's happening in our head is also different than the way that we speak. So that's one thing that, we have a 4-step prep process that's too much to go into right now. But if you were to take a couple things and immediately start implementing it, is toss that script, use bullets instead, and speak it out loud before you hit record. Because what happens all the time is people hit record, they start talking and they're tripping over their words and they're going, wait, I don't sound like that. That's not the way I talk. This doesn't, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, and then your personality is not coming across because you're judging what you're doing. So give yourself a chance to say it out loud. And when you're rehearsing out loud, that's what allows you, when you hit record, to be able to actually do it in 3 takes or less, because you're not figuring it out in those 3 takes.
Yeah, that's we'll get into the second one too, roadmap, here in a second. So my thing when you say that, it's actually kind of funny because everybody's like, Jackson, you just like go out and blam all this video shit out. No problem. What people don't really realize is sometimes I shoot up to 3, 4, 5 intros. Because the first one, I kind of got it all out, but I had to like stop a few times and think of words. And so I keep all of them, but I'll go right back to where I just started, turn the camera on, shoot that intro again. And then I'm like, oh, that was good, but I forgot this one thing. So I'll shoot like a third one. So that is, the camera's on, and I try not to do more than 3, like you guys say, but I will notice I can get that kind of the confidence up. And then when I know what I'm about to say, my pep and my steps a lot higher too. So
absolutely, you're basically recording your rehearsal, is
right.
what
Yeah.
So, and that, and for people watching, you don't have to necessarily record that part of the figuring it out part. I totally understand why you do, Jackson, but for other people, that can just be your, let me get it out a couple times. And then when you're ready for that, get the pep in your step, as you're saying, that's when you can turn that camera on and hit record. And you can give yourself up to 3 takes if you're like, I just need to get it out a few more times. But those 3 takes are like, you know what you're doing, and you might be trying a couple different things with it, or a couple different flavors, or you feel great after 1 take or 2 take, and you can move on with it.
All right. Well, let's touch on the roadmap. Point number 2 is the roadmap. What do you guys mean by that?
Yeah. So that's actually like your question that you asked, Jackson, which was like, okay, if someone wanted like a video right now, like what's like a quick way to do it? And we talked about bullets. Here's where roadmap really comes in and makes the bullets part 10 times easier. Remember at the beginning when Abby was like, you need to be doing all 3 that we're going to give to you today, the preparation, roadmap, camera presence, in order to be confident and great on camera. This will kind of show that. So pull back the Hollywood curtain again. So as writers and actors, right, in Hollywood, there's been millions of movies made, but they actually all fall into 10 categories, right? But Blake Snyder, a great script writer, and he wrote a great book for script writers, not for you, it'd be a waste of your guys' time, but it's called Save the Cat. And he talks about how all these movies fall into 10 categories. And each category has its own framework you follow, right? So if I'm writing a rom-com and it falls into this type of category, I know, okay, this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to by these pages, et cetera, right? So that's important because it's actually just like with videos. There are specific video categories. There's not 10, there's less. There's video categories, and each category has its own framework. So when you know that, it becomes super easy, because if you're like, oh, I have this idea, someone was asking me a question, I can make a video on that. Oh, that falls into the false belief framework, and that just goes boom, boom, boom. So I know when I bullet point it, I would talk about this first, I would talk about that, and I would see how easy that comes. And Abby will explain that with a little more detail, but that's why we were saying earlier, it's all connected. Because when you know these frameworks, it's just so easy to take an idea and bullet point it out within seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of the examples that we always like to tell that really illustrates that is like, because some people are like, yeah, okay, but kind of, maybe. And we're like, so think of these 2 movies. So Schindler's List and Die Hard, 2 completely different movies, like couldn't be more different. Well, they actually fall into the same category. So what Blake refers to as the dude with a problem or dudette with a problem is basically an ordinary person in extraordinary circumstances. So Die Hard, he's got to rescue his wife, from the terrorists. Schindler's List, he's trying to save his Jewish friends from the Nazis. 2 completely different tones, but you would know if you were creating a movie that fell into that a certain thing needs to happen by the end of the first act to really hook in that audience and make them excited to keep watching the movie. Different things would have to happen in the second act to keep them feeling really engaged and emotionally connected, going through that roller coaster. And then certain things would need to happen by the end of the movie to make you want to run out of that theater and go tell your friends, hey, you got to go see this movie. Well, it's the exact same with your videos. If you are doing a value video, for example, this is how I need to hook in that audience, the right audience, so they're excited to watch my movie. Here's how I keep them engaged throughout the video. You're talking about watch time, Jackson, the things that increase that watch time. What do you need to do in the meat of that video to keep them engaged? And then very importantly, what do you need to do in that call to action by the end of the video to actually get them, taking action, reaching out to you, sending it to their friend who this is more relevant for. And then if you're doing a different type of video, a false belief framework video, you need to know, here's how I would hook them in for that type of video. Here's how I keep them engaged. Here's how I get them taking action. Because you're not making videos just to make videos or because you want to be an actor. Like, you're making them to get someone to do something. And so once you're prepared and you know how to be natural and conversational and you know how to structure your videos and knock them out quickly and easily, okay, well, how are we getting that audience to actually take action at the end of that video? And it's, you know, all very crucial things to get them to do that.
So our roadmap, just to like circle this into the real estate world, for me personally, it's like if I do a studio pros and cons video, it's always typically the same. I like list videos because they get clicked more, and actually people watch them longer because the psychology of just like, there's a list, I have to know them all. So it's a real strong hook. And then I typically get right into it with also teasing that the last one's the worst. And then my like home tour vlogs is typically going to be a really strong hook, teasing something that they'll see at the end. We do almost the exact same thing every week. So it's going to be a house and then a little bit of the community, maybe another house, and the final is prices, and then a vlog of a city. Everybody asks me, what do you do? And I usually try and tell them, get the anchor, like something about that town or that city that is like kind of the go-to, that's why it makes it so special. And that, you know, that's going to be in there. And then 2 to 3 different styles and neighborhoods, not the same ones. Like this one's different from that one and this one. So that framework is there. And now I've shot 10,000 videos. So if I fly into random cities I've never been to, and they always say, how the hell do you do that? And I'm like, I just literally follow this recipe. And I actually don't want to know what I'm going to see because I want to be able to tell it, you know?
Exactly. And so that's, oh, go ahead, David.
And notice what you just said, how I can fly in anywhere.
Yep.
Quickly get to know the place and be like, because we have the framework, you're just like, okay, well, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. It becomes so easy. So one, it's just so easy to make videos consistently because now it's not an unknowing process anymore, trying to memorize scripts or whatever. But two, and then speaking of the scripts part, is that like we hear all the time, you know, like as real estate agents, they'll be like, I have this service that sends me a script every week of like what to say, and it gets sent to 10,000 other real estate agents who are the exact same thing. And so we hear all the time, like, well, how do I stand out from the crowd? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, or like, why should I even make this video? I'm just saying the exact same thing they are. Right. And well, one, now if you're doing frameworks, maybe you're talking about the same topic, but now you're talking in your voice, not a script that someone else wrote, their words, and you're trying to talk like them. Now you're just talking like you, like Jackson's doing when he goes from place to place. He's just following the framework. And two, that's definitely how you're going to stand out from the crowd, because even though you're talking about the same topics, that's not a big deal. The people who aren't realtors want to know those topics. They don't know those things. That's why they're in demand for realtors to talk about. You know it because you talk about it all the time, but they don't do this all the time. But again, whether they see your video and then they saw Jamie's video right afterwards talking about the same town, it's going to be wildly different than Jackson's, because Jackson used his own words and off his framework, not some script that Jamie and 1,000 other people are saying verbatim. Yeah. It just opens a world to you guys. You stand out.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll probably get to this on the confidence part, but I guess the most intriguing aspect of all that is in the real estate world, and I've coached a lot of these people and you have too. It's actually more of like an imposter syndrome industry. It's actually go out and watch everybody else and comment and copy what they do. And I got my big breakthrough when I stopped the scripting, trying to be a local Portland dude. I was brand new there, and I started doing videos like my story, and it just propelled me to where we're at today. But I'm sure you guys had a breakthrough in Hollywood too, where like you kind of found somebody you liked and imitated that, but it never was your natural voice. And then when you figure out you're like, oh, I got my own style.
There's a big thing in Hollywood when like you're all auditioning with the same script. Like you don't get to just change the script when you go in for an audition. Very few things are going to let you improvise, but the good acting teachers will always tell you, to put your own flavor on it in terms of how you're coming across, and don't try to like fit into that mold of what you think that they want. Go in, be yourself. And if you're not right for that role, like they're going to bring you in for the thing that you are right for. It's always like we talk about winning the room instead of winning the role, and you win the room by doing like what you are. And there's been casting directors, David and I have both been in countless times, and then you eventually book the right thing with them. And so it's the same thing with like real estate. Is like there's going to be some people that watch your stuff and they're not going to resonate with you. And that's fine, because if you are being you more consistently, then the people that are the right people for you, when they come across you, they're going to want to watch your stuff. Or you do win the room, somebody likes watching you and it's just not the right time for them to buy or sell or whatever that is, but they're going to keep watching you because they really resonate with you. And then when the right time comes along, they're going to be like, oh yeah, there's that guy Jackson I always see on YouTube. Like I want to work with him.
Yeah. I got a million questions. Well, because here, okay, so I like to always wear the shoes of the people that I'm coaching. So it's like, the hardest part is shooting those first videos because you think you suck so bad. Were you guys ever penalized as Hollywood actors, or especially early on as aspiring, to like how many times you tried out and didn't get it? Or was it just once you nailed that one, it worked? Because in our world, it doesn't really penalize you in any way, but we internally penalize ourselves so badly that it can hold. So a lot of the most successful YouTube real estate agents that I've ever coached, or that do these, they've got like 500 videos on this channel, and the first ones are just all, and even the ones just 4 months ago are awful, right? It's a continuation that leads to confidence, but I just don't feel like it ever penalizes you, and that's something that people have to get over with.
Yes. However, like this is actually, I'm glad you asked this, because this is a big thing for David and me that we like to talk about a lot. And we will get to the number 3 presence thing for everyone. Still being like, well, what's the third one? Is that you don't need to make 200 bad videos to get to the good video if you know what you're doing. So there is this thing where it's like, I mean, mad respect for people that make 200, 500 videos that suck and still keep going. But the reality is, for most realtors, you don't have the time or the grit for that. And it's honestly, for most people, not worth that time of making 200, 500, even 50 bad videos to get to a good video. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like, this is not rocket science. When you have the right preparation process, like we have people that go from, like we're saying, it takes them a week to make a video. And then within a week of learning the right process, they're knocking videos out in 3 takes or less. Like, wow, that opens up so much opportunity for you. So when you have the right prep process, you have the right roadmap, we're going to talk about presence. It doesn't mean like overnight, all of a sudden you're going to make millions and millions of dollars in your one video. You still need to, do all the other things that you're talking about, of building up your audience and all of those things. And there's going to be things that progressively get dialed in. So you're not going to overnight go from sucking to being, phenomenal, but you can pretty quickly get to a point where you can knock those videos out easily, where you're starting to come across more as yourself, where you have the right framework. So anyone watching your videos not going like, oh gosh, they're going down all these rabbit holes and rambling all over the place, and I have no idea what they're talking about. This is so complicated. Like, you can get to good pretty quickly with the right process. And so we're big on why take 200 times, 500 times when you can just learn how to do it the right way, and then all of a sudden start seeing results like very quickly from what you're doing.
Yep. So in your program, again, guys, down in the comments below or description, you can reach out to them, and ours as well. And that's the beautiful part about what we're teaching today, is both our systems have those roadmaps. I mean, we give you the titles, we give you the hooks. So basically out of the gate, you have all the correct verbiage. Now it's going to be repetitions, but let's get into presence.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So one of the things that you were already getting into, there's this imposter feeling. People aren't coming across as their natural selves. Real estate's a relationship business. We hear all the time, when I'm in person, when I meet people, 9 times out of 10, people want to work with me, that there is that comfort zone, that rapport in person, that so many realtors have amazing personalities. And that's why you do so well with what you do. But then there's this disconnect that happens when they try to get on camera, where all of a sudden you're watching that video and it's like a flat, shrunken down version of yourself. And you're going like, that's not me. That's just not how I sound. That's not how I talk. You know, your friends and family are like, it's just, you know, kind of boring. And so our goal is always, it's never like, oh, you got to be this like YouTube personality where you're just loud and you're talking to this and you're doing that and you're this thing. No, we just need to capture that essence of who you are in real life on camera. So whether someone meets you at an open house or they see one of your videos, you're the same person. And that's exactly what you're talking about, Jackson. The second you stop trying to copy other people and being something else and you start to be yourself is when things really took off, because people felt like they knew you and you are authentic. So there's a lot of things that can go into this. David, do you want to kind of break down the professionalism part?
Yeah. So a lot of people will say, you know, I want to be professional on camera. I want to come across professional on camera. That word just kind of has a bad
connotation.
Yeah, that works. What happens is when we say professional, we just naturally do the little buttoned up, you know, the tie gets a little tighter. I got to stay in this lane, right? We basically create this box, like just stay in your lane so you come across like, I'm professional, you trust me. It's an interesting thing because at the same time, you guys say, everyone, not just realtors, literally everyone, will be like, I want to be natural and conversational on camera. Well, how can you be your authentic self? How can you be natural and conversational self on camera if you literally put up this box? Like, I want to be natural and conversational, but, you know, don't go out of this little lane I've made for myself. You literally can't be natural and conversational. You've made it that you can't be. So we're not trying to be professional. We're just trying to be, the Abby's used this word a lot. And actually, Jackson's unknowingly said this word a lot. Expert. You're just trying to be the expert you are. And like Abby said at the very beginning of this, you are an expert. You ain't going to be making videos if you're not an expert on it, right? So that's the word we want to use. And just think about any conference you've been to, any speech you've watched where they're on stage. We won't even talk about camera. They're on stage. The best ones you see, they're just being their natural selves. Their humor's coming out. They're relaxed. They're walking around. They're just being them. When you meet them in person, there's no difference. They're not being professional. They're being an expert, right? So it's the same thing on camera. We want to be you. We want to be that expert so that when they do meet you in real life, there's no difference. And you already crush it in real life. I guess no pun intended. We want you to crush it on camera so that there's no difference between you two. And the first step of that is think expert, not professional. We got to get rid of that box.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else, Abby, or no?
Yeah. Any follow-ups about that, Jackson? Otherwise, I don't know. Did you want to do?
Yeah, I want to get into storytelling because that's the power of what we do. But I will say one thing. I say it a lot. It's pretty funny that when real estate agents go to market themselves, it's very like it comes off as kind of that professional and very boxy scripted.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'll get hit with an ad by like a chiropractor or something, and dude, they're just sitting there cracking a back and explaining what they're doing, and the worst quality, and you just like have to watch it, and you're like, I got to use this guy. So
yeah.
With that being said, it's kind of like being in your element and understanding that 99.9% of these people that are watching you on that other side actually don't know what you're teaching them, and it should give you a little more confidence. But
and then
and I just want to go ahead. I was gonna, before you move on to storytelling, Jackson, just to kind of wrap this up and thread these all together. So we talked about at the beginning when we started about how there's going to be three things. So how do these three things all interact? So like we talked about preparation. If it takes you hours to create a video, you are never going to be able to keep creating videos. So that first thing, that foundation, is being able to be prepared so you can knock those videos out quickly and easily. Realtors are way too busy to be spending hours and hours on a 2-minute video. Then the second one, we talked about roadmap. You're not creating videos just to make them. We got to be able to hook people in, keep them engaged, get them taking action. And then that third piece of the puzzle is got to be your authentic, conversational, natural self on camera. And so we want to think about those things as not three separate things, but three things that overlap, kind of like a Venn diagram. And then that sweet spot in the middle of all of those things being dialed in is that you can actually create converting video marketing. Like you can create content that is actually going to get results. But if any one of those things aren't dialed in, that's where you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table, a lot of money on the table. Like if you're like, okay, I'm really charismatic on camera, like a lot of realtors are, but I ramble all over the place and the videos take me hours, that's not going to get you the results that you want. Or if you can prepare and knock them out quickly and you've got the best roadmap in the world, but you're like, a wet towel in terms of your personality on camera, like those videos are not going to get you the results that you want. So it's got to be all three of those things, of preparation, roadmap, and presence dialed in for you to be able to basically what we say, complete the Hollywood method so you can be able to get the results that you want with your videos.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, let's jump right into it. The top 3 strategies on how to tell better stories on camera.
Yeah. Let's just go one at a time, I think, huh, Abby?
Yeah,
Right.
let's do it.
All right.
Take us
Number
off.
1. This is a big one that for some reason people don't do. When you're telling a story, it's about them, not you. Now, what do I mean by that? It doesn't mean the story can't be about you, meaning like I'm the person in the story I'm talking about. I used to struggle with this, and then I learned how to do this, and look at me now. That's okay. What we mean by that is you're telling this story to help them. You're not telling a story just because you're like, I need therapy, so I'm processing this story. Right? No. You're telling the story because that person is literally struggling with whatever you're talking about in the story currently, that exact time. So you're like, oh man, do I relate? Or I had a client who can relate to this, right? And so you're going to show them in that story, whether it's about you or a past client of yours. They used to struggle with this, and then I taught them this, and then they were able to have, this amazing thing. And you can too. It's about showing what's possible and shifting their mindset through that. And I'll let Abby come in more about that. But that's the big thing, is that a lot of the times people forget that the story is just to help the potential customer with whatever they're struggling with. And if we stay on that topic, we're 10 million steps closer to a great story. If we go off that, that's when we get into trouble.
Absolutely. And that's just think about story as the vehicle to teach something, shift a mindset, show empathy, show someone you understand what they're going through. Story is just that vehicle to do it. And David's tips sound so simple. It's about them. Well, of course it is. But that means that pro tip that is the end of that video or the moral of the story or whatever that is about them and what they need. And that's going to allow you, one, it takes a lot of pressure off. Like you're talking about, people are feeling imposter syndrome. Well, how much anxiety am I feeling if I'm like, oh, I got to do this thing and I'm on camera and everyone's looking at me, and what if I mess up? But then if you actually shift that mindset to, wait, no, this story is about them, what they need, how I'm helping them, how I'm teaching them. And I just happen to be the one who has to say it and be on camera and tell this story. Like, wow, that takes a lot of pressure off of thinking about yourself. And you can really channel that energy towards who's on the other side of that camera and needs to understand what you're teaching. So that's just kind of a baseline thing. And then we'll go into some of the more tactical things as well.
I also think this kind of helps because Jackson brought it up a couple times already. It'd be like imposter syndrome, since that goes with confidence. And now Abby's telling you like storytelling. I always think about it this way. Like I was once told, it really helped me with something I was struggling with. It's like, they were like, wow, David, you're being pretty selfish for not like sharing that. And I was like, what? Screw you. Like, what does that mean? And they were basically like, if you were walking down the street and someone was like, God, I'm really struggling with this, and you had the answer, like a friend of yours or whatever, and you had the answer, you're like, oh yeah, I know how to fix that. Well, have a good one. And you just walked away to be like, what is it? You jerk. Like, tell me. And so it goes into what Abby's saying, which is, again, if you're making it about them, it's to help them. It takes away that pressure. Because you're like, oh yeah, I was where you were once, or my client was where, this is what you do. Cool. Later, have a good one. And they're like, thank you so much. I was struggling with this and you just solved it. God bless you. Right? So big thing with imposter syndrome is we got to stop being selfish, which is what I had to learn. And I hope that you guys can learn that as well. And remember, like Abby said, it's about them.
Yep. So it's not about them, or it's about them, not you. In our world too, a lot of times, and you said it, don't get misconstrued. Like it's your story. So a lot of times, especially here in Houston and these other channels I've done, I always like repeatedly say, you know, hey, I moved here too. I know what it feels like. But the reason I say that is not to talk about me. It's because the viewer just goes, wait, what a minute? Like, wait a minute. You're just, you know, I'm in your exact shoes. So mentioning previous jobs, even we've gotten a lot of leads because of what I said I used to do. You know, struggles with, you know, finding daycares. You know, man, it was so hard for me to find daycare, and the callers come in because it was just that whatever I said right there connected with them and made us. No longer am I like the real estate agent and you're this client. It's just like you're my person. So you got to kind of figure out those things of what separates you. And those stories are what turn into creating the relationship in between people. But I'm excited about number 2 because it's hooks.
Yeah.
Again, in the YouTube world, there's nothing more important than the hook. And we focus with our elite coaching on the first 30 seconds of that video a lot. So
Absolutely.
give us your spiel.
Yeah. So hooks are, we agree, the most important part of your story, the most important part of your video. It's one of the things that we see people struggle with the most. And when it comes, and there's a couple ways we can talk about it. One with videos in general and one with stories. But if you think about the reason why we say it's the most important thing, for one, if you can't hook them in, does not matter how great the rest of your video is. They will never know because they will have scrolled past you and are watching something else. It's also important to remember when it comes to story, we keep kind of pulling back that Hollywood curtain. How many times have you been like flipping channels or whatever, and you get like hooked into a TV show or something that just kind of catches you when you're flipping through, and then all of a sudden you're like, now I have to watch it to the end, like, because I got hooked in. So the beginning of a story, that first 10, 15 seconds or whatever, that really hooks someone in, honestly, even if there's parts of the middle that aren't as good, maybe you're watching the show and there's a character that you kind of don't love, or there's it, because you've been hooked into that story, there's a part of our brains that need to see things completed. You are going to want to know how it ends, and that's going to help you keep watching it. Like psychology wise, like we have to close loops. Like when there's information we don't have, we either fill in the gap or we need to get that information to like close that loop. And so if you can hook someone in, they will want to close that loop and watch to the end of their video, which is also why, you know, Jackson, you're saying, I saved the scariest tip to the last one, or the biggest mistake till the last thing, because there's a part of people that are going to want to keep watching to find out what that last thing is.
Yep. And you might get to it, David, but how about we get a little more practical? Is there like certain words or like hand movements or gestures or anything that can help, you know, with strong hooks or like tips you took away from the industry?
Yeah, I mean, there's something called like, you know, obviously like a pattern interrupt, and those can be, you'll see people like trying different things all the time. And here's the thing, when you become great on camera and you can make videos easily, what's the joy of that is you can just try different things to see what works and what doesn't, because it literally only took you a couple minutes to make a video. So who cares? That's when you can start split testing. I mean, we'll talk about pattern interrupts first. Doing this type of stuff, Abby and I have done funny things where I'm juggling. Abby was on a scooter once, or on a pogo stick. Both.
Like things that catch people's attention.
And then just simple things where you don't even need to do visual stuff. That was just something that we could just quickly be like, here's some visual things you can easily do. Right?
Yeah.
I think, by the way, I've seen someone who's just kind of like I am right now. It's we'll call it a close up just to make it easy for you guys. Like it's just kind of like my upper chest to my head. And he was just holding, I've seen one person holding like a red delicious apple, just super red, and biting it. And I seen someone just holding a half-eaten banana, never talks about it, never mentions it, nothing to do with the banana. But it just like while you're scrolling, it caught their attention. Like, so it can be something simple like that. That's just fun, goofy stuff. But however, Abby, I'm going to give away, I think like one of our hooks that we talk about, a lot of formulas.
Yeah. Do you want to break down the capturing everyone versus like that, and then give that hook formula after that?
Yeah, why don't you talk about that, and then I'll give away the hook formula.
Yeah. So one of the first things is we always need to think about who is this video for. So as realtors, you might work with a lot of subsets of your audience. You might work with buyers and sellers and investors and all that stuff. But one of the biggest mistakes that we see is people try to make every one of their videos for all of the subsets of their audience or for everyone. And then it ends up being like a very watered down hook. Like, are you looking to buy or sell or downsize, or maybe you're retiring and you want this, but it could be your first home and you're also wondering how to get a mortgage. It's like, who is this video for? And what are you talking about?
Such a good point.
Like, so confusing. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that we see, realtors unintentionally do.
Can I time out?
Time out.
Zach Morris time out for the millennials right there and Gen X. On top of that, though, if you did a hook like that, like Abby's saying, all those things, are you looking to buy? Are you looking to sell? Are you looking at that? Think about how hard it is to make the rest of that video, because now you have to talk about all those things. Yeah. So like, not only is it like the hook's confusing because it's like, well, who is this video for? Now, no wonder why it's taking you an entire weekend to make a video. You're trying to talk about all of that into one video. It's literally impossible. So that's another reason why hooks are so important, not just for the viewer, but for you to be simple and make a simple video. Sorry, Zach Morris, time in.
No, that's a good point. And then I'm gonna hit my time out. No, Abby, I want you to continue on this. Well, here's why I think a lot of real estate agents do that. One is because like they want and crave that like virality, and so our minds are trained to like, I got to hit everybody so that everybody watches it, and actually your watch time, average view, everything just plummets. Whereas if you hone it and niche it, then the algorithms will figure out who's actually watching that and watching it in detail and recommend it more. So just adding to that as well, we really had to refine that too. Each video is, I'm like, are you this person? And then you get right into it. And it even leaves probably some people going, well, maybe I am that person. I don't know.
Yeah, because think about, we're on YouTube, which is a slightly different platform, but I know a lot of your audience is making, videos for Facebook and Instagram. And remember with those videos in particular, like, you are interrupting people. That is interruption marketing. People are not going on Instagram to scroll and see a bunch of realtors. No, they're going to see videos of their friends, their family, cats, dogs, cute stuff, fun stuff. So you need to be capturing their attention, with something that makes them stop and go like, oh, is this video for me? This video might be for me. And I just need to know in a matter of a few seconds, is this for me or is this not for me? And so when you're trying to do that thing of capturing everybody, you're just capturing no one. And if I'm confused at all, I'm just going to keep swiping to the next thing very quickly. So always be very, very clear on who this video is for and being specific about who it is for. And don't be afraid that means that some people who might also be right for you are not going to watch this video, because you're going to make another video, because again, now you've got a process. You can make videos quickly and easily. You're going to make another video that is more right for the other type of people, and they will watch that one, and they are going to build trust that you are not going to waste their time with stuff that is not relevant to them. And so they'll choose which things they want, and that is great. And actually, let's later come back to that viral thing, maybe at the end, because I do think that's a mindset shift with realtors in particular that we need to talk about it.
So, and with our hooks on the YouTube front, we have to realize that it's a search engine and it's different than the Facebook, Instagram. So we're not stopping scrolls. We're answering questions. And so our biggest issue is typically wanting to get into almost like, hey, I'm this person, I'm a local real estate agent, or they, what we call a bait and switch, thumbnail and title worked great, but then they when they open that video, it's completely different from the expectations. So our strongest hooks are going to be right away answering the question. And two, for what I do is I really try to team up that thumbnail with exactly how it opens, so it's really helped us with our with our retention rates out of the gate, by simply almost, even if the thumbnail is a picture of you in that first screen with a house behind you, but you're right there when it starts, it can actually help with that hook. So now we've got stuff in the background they're looking at, that's my red apple type stuff. So
exactly
Our
Yeah,
hooks are very intentional.
David, you want to give an example of just one simple formula they can start using?
Yeah, this is a simple one. Abby and I always talk about there's really 7, and here's like one we love using, which is basically, I'm going to keep it real simple. Do you struggle with X? Insert the problem they're having.
Yep.
And you should be doing customer research that maybe like what their top, whatever, we'll just say 3 problems are. You would pick one of those. So do you struggle with, insert one of those problems? Well, in this video, I'm going to insert solution, right? So whatever. Do you struggle with being natural and conversational on camera? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 things you have to do in order to be your authentic self, right? It's just right off the bat, I'm telling you, what's what Jackson was saying. I'm just telling you right away, this is what this is about. This is what I'm going to help you with. Do you struggle with this? Great, you're watching. If you don't, because you're on YouTube, you probably weren't searching for it anyways. But if you stumbled across it through YouTube Shorts, you're going to keep scrolling.
Yep. So we just call that like a problem solution hook. So whether you use the word struggle or a different word, you're just setting up the problem and then setting up the solution and then breaking it down in the video. And like, it sounds simple because it is. Like, always remember, like, your hooks need to be clear. They don't need to be clever. Like, you don't need to be doing like, saying all this flowery language like it's ad copy. You just need to be able to call out, like, is this something somebody cares about, and that you're going to be helping them in it, because that's all really people care about, at the beginning of the video.
Yep. So the struggle is real.
Yep.
All right. So number 3, this one's pretty interesting. Every story needs a conflict.
Yeah. David, you, me?
Sure. Well,
There's conflict right there.
Oh my God, I'm so mad.
Yeah. I mean, I think this one's really self-explanatory. Every story needs a conflict, meaning nobody wants to hear, my life's great and you should come to me because I can do all these things. I'm the best realtor in town and blah, blah, because they don't trust you. They're like, well, how do I know you can solve my problem? Sounds like everything's a bed of roses for you. You've never really had to deal with anything before. We want to make a video when we rephrase that. When we're telling a story, because we're talking story. When we're telling a story, we want that potential customer, that viewer, to know, I know exactly how you feel right now. I've been there. Or if you haven't, my client that I help, because you're going to pick a client you tell a story about. They've been there before. And you would be talking about all of their same conflict that that viewer is currently having, right? That's how someone watching is going to be like, Jackson gets it. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, this is me. Yes, this is what I'm struggling with right now. Then when you get to the part about how you can help, or the 3 tips, or whatever that latter half of your story is going to be about, how now you are in a bed of roses because you did all these things and how you want to help them, right? They've come along on that journey with you and they're like, oh, that's what I want. So he was where I was at and now he's here. Oh, yes. He finally gets it. Someone understands it. I trust them. That's how we build trust, which is the whole point of storytelling. That's going to make us want to work with them more. If we don't show the conflict, if we don't show, hey, here's the same pain you're having right now, how are they ever supposed to relate?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Jackson, you used a lot of those examples earlier when you were talking about what's been most effective in your videos. You were like, oh, when I said like how I used to struggle to try to find daycare in this new city, and then like what you did and said and like all that stuff. It's like those were the things that made people go like, he gets it. And again, you don't necessarily have to have the same struggles as your clients do. That's totally fine. That's why you use other client stories or things like that. But, just to kind of, you can do stories with the hero's journey. You can do all these different structures with them, but very basically you want to have that low point because that is where the person watching the video is now. You want to break down what that like aha moment was or what changed. So in a lot of stories, that's going to be that person then came to you or hired you. And then what is that positive outcome they found their dream home, like whatever that great thing is, but we don't get to appreciate that dream home if we don't know, oh man, it was really frustrating at the beginning. That's why like people are like always so mad about like Nepo babies and stuff. It's like everything was great for them from the beginning. They didn't have to go through any hardship. They just were born great. Everything handed to them, and then they were great. I can't appreciate their success. But if you're like, oh man, this person really went through it, and they were like, this is extreme, but like they were homeless and then they had to beat addiction and like all this stuff. Then when they win, you're like, oh my God, like what an amazing thing that I can celebrate because I've seen now what they've gone through. And so in a smaller, way, that's what we want to hit on in all of these types of videos too.
Yeah. So a lot of the struggles, the best part about the struggle of the video, the part of the struggle is actually where I get all my calls to action. And so I leverage those in my videos of, when I was moving to Houston, and I'll just tell the story like I'm actually telling somebody, like when we were moving to Houston, you read every blog and it literally just directs you straight to Katy, Texas. That's just, if you've got kids, you're moving to Katy, Texas. My wife and I drove out there, and 45 minutes later, we were still driving out there. Then she took a nap. She woke up and she's like, are we still driving? And I'm like, yeah. So Katy, Texas is amazing. I've been out there a bunch of times. We still do a lot of family stuff there, but for me, it was so far away from everything. But this is why you got to reach out, because whatever you read, some other videos you see, it's all about feeling, so you got to reach out to us, because when you tell us 2 or 3 things you like or don't like, now we can place you in the right spot. So I'm always going to lead with conflict, how difficult it was when I moved here. I actually moved to the wrong spot. And we ended up moving. So I always tell a story, I told my son, he'd already been to 3 elementary schools, that this was home. We're never moving. And 2 years later, I'm yanking him from 3rd grade, dude. And I mean, tears. And I don't want anybody to go through that. That's why you reach out. We want to put you in the right spot. So that struggle, is, we always just kind of want to paint everything is perfect and great. Everything's cute. But when you can actually get into the pain points, and so other examples is leveraging your clients. Man, our clients chose a spot, they loved it, but let me tell you what they didn't like. We drove through here and there and that. So you can always find those reasons why somebody chose a spot over other areas, and it can be that conflict. And then it's a way to get your call to action in there.
Yeah. And Abby and I actually we're going to give you a bonus, a 4th one. So instead of just 3, we're going to give you a 4th, because it really ties into everything we've been talking about today, but it really goes into this conflict thing, where emotions inspire viewers to take action.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is like empathy. Empathy is it's crucial. It's crucial. And so when you're telling a story, honestly, you can do everything we told you. And if you don't do this emotion part, it's not going to land as well. So emotions are so important, because when you're talking about someone's conflict, right, that we just talked about, right? If you're talking about like, oh, my client, or in Jackson's case, it was him, right, where he was like, yeah, I moved here and blah, blah, blah. If we need to, as Abby and I say, show it, not just tell it, right? If I'm talking about something that was like the worst day of my life, and I'm just like, yeah, and it was like the worst day of my life, I'd be like, was it? You seem like a serial killer. Like, why are you smiling? No one talks like that in real life, right? Doesn't mean you have to be like, it was the worst day of my life. No, but you would be like, if you were telling that story in real life, you would be like, oh God, yeah. So I had to yank my son out just to watch him crying. Like I had to yank him out of 3rd grade. It was like one of the worst days of my life.
Yep.
Like people are going to resonate with that, because whether they yanked their kid out of 3rd grade, like when you said that, I remember when I had to move in high school as a junior. Yep. Not very different than 3rd grade, but all those feelings came to me.
Yep.
Right. Where I was like, oh God, I remember that.
And I don't want that for my kids. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we show instead of just tell, right, we don't have to be crying. We don't have to be, I'm so angry. But when we're showing those things, the intonations of our voices and the vocal range and all that type of stuff, that's how people are really going to resonate, right? There's a big difference between, like I said, that's the worst day of my life. And God, it was just one of the worst days of my life. Like it's a subtle thing, but it makes all the difference.
And people have just a visceral reaction to that. Like David, even though David didn't go through the same thing as you, he had a different thing that called up, and he had a visceral reaction to it. So it's always important to remember, like, it's okay if people watching don't have the exact same thing, it's going to connect to them in a different way. And then the bonus is when you show, not tell, and you can bring emotion to it. You don't have to say as much. Your videos can be a lot more concise because when there's emotion on it, we get it. Like, he doesn't need to keep going. Like, and the reason why it sucked to yank my kid out of 3rd grade is, and I'm going to do a whole monologue about it. Like, if you show that emotion, we're just like, oh yeah, we get it. We don't want that. You can move on to the next part of your story. It allows you to get so much more across. It's like the whole, like, pictures worth, 1,000 words, like video showing them, it's 1,000,000 words. And so that's another reason why it's really important. And to tie it back to the very beginning of this whole thing with scripting and teleprompters, do you think that you can show that level of emotion in your videos and that relatability when reciting a script or reading a teleprompter, even if you're not smiling and seeming like a serial killer like David was doing, but you're just flat or a little bit more robotic or a little bit shrunken version of yourself? Like, man, you're just leaving all the good stuff out. And so that's again why, like, that, we can only talk about storytelling after we've talked about the confidence and the prep and all that stuff, because this is what the next level is when you do all of that, now you can get to that, the good stuff of being able to go and, like, really connect with people in a meaningful way, which I'm sure you are all doing in real life. You are probably telling stories day in and day out to your clients in real life. And we just got to start doing that on camera more as well.
Yep. So my number one tactic, like if I were to give myself my flowers, I've been able to work with a lot of real estate agents, and I don't even mean coaching. Like, I've flown to 14 cities, created YouTube channels in markets I've never been in, and they always bring me these, like, stacks of paper and data, and I'm like, they're like, where do you want to start? And I'll just, like, I threw it in the back. I'll never forget. I literally I'm like, I don't want to know. I want to ask a question, because when I can get like a question to them, they'll literally just, like, tell me, they'll talk to me, but if they're trying to read some kind of data fact, we're like kind of anti the data facts, because one, like, people really don't, they're just trying to get a connection of somebody that they can call. That's it. Rather than the data and the facts. But two, you can get that emotion out, and it really can. Again, we lead everything back to watch time, average view durations, and those are the things that will really increase that.
Like, so many realtors are, well, we're like, oh, what kind, we'll meet them at conferences and we're like, oh, what kind of videos are you making? They're like, oh, I'm doing my, like, weekly market reports where I'm just like reading off the stats of the week. And I'm just like, snooze, because the reason people are hiring you is because they don't understand that stuff, or they don't know what it means, or they can't, like, put meaning to it. And it doesn't mean don't talk about what's current, but when you're going to talk about it in a way that people can understand. And that's typically through story or taking complicated things and making them simple. People also remember things so much more through story. That's why we teach through story. That's why we've had oral history for generations, is because, and stories get passed down from generation to generation to generation. That's why, like, mythology is stories. It's lessons that you're remembering through story. Like, we are, as human beings, are hardwired for story. So if you are not making story a core part of your videos, you are leaving out the most important thing in terms of connecting with people and inspiring people to actually take action. And so that's why, Jackson's successful doing what he's doing. That's why it's such a core part of what we do. But it is just, like, we cannot emphasize enough how important this is to be a core part of what you do.
Yep. I think I can round a lot of this up to, like, realizing there is somebody out there who needs that information you have, in a sense, to where, like, we want to paint a perfect picture that, this video can go out to everybody. But if you were to, answer the question, talk about the pain points, show emotion right now in today's current market, if I were to get, like, 100 real estate agents in a room and just turn on a camera, they're going to talk about the market, right? But they won't take the pain of it, right? Because right now is not the greatest market, and there's all this doom and gloom. But guess what? There's a lot of people who need to sell and buy, and so you got to flip that on its head and be like, look, right now it doesn't look like it's the best time to buy and sell. The interest rates are a little bit higher, and you probably have a 3% interest rate. But let me tell you, I just had 5 conversations with clients. 3 of them, I told them, don't even sell your house. You're in a good spot. But 2 of them now are actually going through this process. So what that did right there is just basically hone in on the people that are actually thinking about doing that thing right now instead of the broad gamut of everybody. And so we hit the pain points. We, you know, had issues in there, and with that, we're able to get our point across. And back to the chiropractor, you said it, David. You're like, do you struggle with? They always say, you struggle with pain right here in your back, and you're like, damn it, I do, right there. That's the pain spot. Hey, you thinking of selling right now, and the interest rates are crap? Hey, here's what you can do. You know, and again, the algorithms will figure out the rest. But man, we got through a bunch. This was really cool. Down in the description, guys, is there links, because I'm going to tell you the hardest part about all this. You got a bunch of information. You turn the camera on, it's going to go blank again. So get in with the crew. And if you're already shooting videos at a high level and want to master the YouTube thing, that's where we're at. If you're more at the front end of that, like, how do I just gain confidence, shoot videos? They have the best program out there. Again, all that's in the description below. You can even email me. You guys know that, and I'll directly contact you with them. So with that being said, Abby and David, thank you so much. I'm going to get you guys back on, because I'm going to get a bunch of questions, and then we'll answer those.
I know. I was like, there's so many more things that we can talk about. Once people understand this stuff, we can talk about the viral stuff and all of the different kind of things that are happening in the real estate world in particular to help you all have success. Because as Jackson's saying, like, just because there's uncertainty doesn't mean people don't still need your help. And if you're not showing up and showing them the way, you know, you're not helping the people that you can. So it's a really important thing to be doing.
Get consistent and get around people doing it. So with that being said, we'll catch you on the next one. And if you guys comment down below, I'll bring them back.
Let's do it. Have a good one.